my name is Bobby Hahn. This is my portfolio project video, which is an overview of my freshman year internship summer, and let's get into it. So to start off, here's my agenda. So I want to start off with where I worked and for which company I worked for. Then I'm going to be getting into the assignments that I worked on and kind of a future outlook of everything I learned from my first internship and how that changed my perspective and how I think about the industry now. So starting off, I worked for Related Companies, which is a real estate development company. Unlike a GC, this company actually owns the property, and rather than working for the owner, they have an in-house construction company and other departments that collaborate together to create these properties. So they invest in properties to purchase them, and then they develop them to different types of buildings, and the overall outcome is a positive influence in the community, and then also try to generate positive income. So to start, I worked on two projects this summer. Project one was pre-construction for a building called 400 Lakeshore Drive. This was the last undeveloped piece of land on Lake Michigan in downtown Chicago. So the site was awesome. It has a lot of history as well. It was basically a failed development from a prior company during the housing market crash. So Related gets the property, and it's been sitting as a whole for a while from the other company. So it's very exciting that this is starting to become an awesome building. And then project two was the row at Fulton Market. And that's the pictures around me over here. And I worked more on site at this job, and I gained a lot of hands-on experience, which was very awesome as well to compare with my pre-construction. So I wanted to start off with something I did in project one, which was Bluebeam. Basically for Bluebeam, I was assigned to generate counts for light fixtures for all the floor plans of the entire building. So basically, as you can see around me, are all these different colors on the floor plan. And all the little dots represent the count function from Bluebeam. So this is a single light fixture that was around the floor of that floor plan, and you just needed to count each one, and each color represented a different one. And then, as you can see over here, are some linear light fixtures, which basically you got to measure because on the amenity floors, for most of the time of the building, they have crazy lights that you want to decorate the building with so that your people are very happy. And linear lights look very good, so you had to measure them, unlike just count them, so you had an exact measurement. And that was also a Bluebeam tool that I learned. So then I had to export all of the data from Bluebeam over to Excel, which very easily can be done by hitting the export button. However, you have to figure out how to sort it and also multiply it by the number of floor plans that each one of the floor plans represent. So for that last document that I showed you, it represented 41 floors that had that same typical floor plan. So multiplying each of those light fixtures out and multiplying it by the number of floors, you can generate a total, which is what I had to do to be able to organize it, which I will show you on the next sheet. Organize it to be able to compare with two other companies. So Rainbow and Everlight also submitted two bids for the pre-construction phase and had their own quantities. And I compared my quantities for all the light fixtures with theirs, and made it very easy to have the same fixture in the same row on Excel. And you can very easily look down and see the quantities and which type it was, and be able to debate back and forth over email or however you may do that, and figure out why one is higher, why one is lower, and what is the better solution. Also, once the company submitted some of their pricing, I created a master light fixture sheet. So using the color coordination on the right over here, basically I color coordinate all the light fixtures, and then I used all the unit prices that they gave me to multiply the quantities I came up with and come up with totals for each company. So very easily we could see which company had a lower overall bid, higher overall bid, and which units or which fixture types were a little bit higher than others. So that is how this is very helpful, and it showed me a lot of why it's important to also do your own count to compare with two other companies, because all three of our counts are very different, and it made it very easy to figure out who we would go with going forward. Different aspects of the project. So going into project two, I worked at the row at Fulton Market. This was my on-site job. So I also did some project takeoffs for the top of the building, which is what I just showed you previously for 400 Lakeshore. I calculated the remaining feet needed for quarter round at the top of the building because the bottom was kind of finished when I got there. The number of transitions needed, which is basically your floor to your tile. We needed to know how many we were missing because the company misordered them and needed more. And then also some missing light fixtures from a company called Bonus and heat pumps from a company called Heatmasters. I needed a total for that so that they could order more. And then also working with subcontractor trackers and scheduling, I worked with Amberleaf, West Elm, and ABT. So those are 3 companies that I worked with that I had to track, like what they needed, what was going on, and make sure to organize it for them so that the project could run successfully and the building could be done. So then this is an example of a unit issue tracker. So us and some other construction company called BOA shared a document with all the issues for all the different units in the building. So this is a snippet up here. As you can imagine, there are a lot of little issues that need to be handled before the project is perfect. So all these are tracked, and we can go through the units, and it makes it a lot easier than randomly going into different units. So 400 Lakeshore obviously is still in the concept phase because it is not being built yet. It's still being financed, but for 900, or the row, basically the reason that this became into reality is because the West Loop of Chicago, which is the area it was built in, has sparked a lot of new development in the last 20 years. The area has drastically changed from like what I've heard, at least, because obviously I'm not from the area. But the Fulton Market area, which is where the row is at, it turned into one of the most highly desired areas in the city very fast. And the real estate in this area is sparked, and just being there, you could see all the new construction going up, which was really cool. So obviously with all the new people flocking to an area, you need some new apartments. And that is why Related decided to invest in a property and build some apartments for that. The building is also 80% market rate and 20% affordable housing, which is the first of its kind to mix market rate and affordable housing in such a luxury building, which is really cool and really awesome to introduce an affordable housing factor into a building like this, into such a high-end area. So it's really exciting to see that happen. And then kind of just some of my lessons learned, touching more on that. So I learned a lot about the construction software. Bluebeam and Autodesk Construction Cloud are 2 of the softwares that I used a lot. Bluebeam, as you can see, was used for those counts and those totals to help generate estimates. And Autodesk Construction Cloud is just a overall software used to track all your documents and all your different floor plans and everything all in one space, almost like a Google Drive. I also learned kind of more about the combination of construction and real estate, working for a real estate development company, and offered a huge perspective on how different departments can work together with an in-house construction company to generate these awesome buildings. And it was really cool to be able to kind of work together on that. It was an aspect that I didn't know going into this and definitely want to learn more about now. I also learned the importance of tracking materials and people. It is very important to make sure you know what everything is coming on your site and what is leaving your site. And going into that is also your general communication. That is super important to make your job function perfect. So finally going into my greatest triumph, this was my first internship in a huge city in an area that I'm not used to. I'm from New Jersey, so entering the Midwest, entering Chicago, a giant city, I obviously was not used to this. I was also living on my own for the first time. So I would say my greatest triumph was overcoming this whole new era of my life, cooking on my own, figuring out how I'm gonna get my clothes ready for the day, and also being on a job site for the first time. Being a student for all my life, this is my first real job, you could say, and it was really awesome to be able to learn and grow as a person, and just overall successfully completing my first internship. And I would say not only completing it, but thriving. So that is all for my presentation today. I hope you enjoyed, and I just wanted to say thank you and have a good one.